we know that a big earthquake is coming. We just don't know when. But this prediction of 2025, people are talking about it on the news. A lot of YouTubers are talking about it.
Yep.
So it's constantly online. And I thought we could just talk about this because I thought this was interesting. This lady is predicting things and they're actually coming true in the past.
Well, she's predicting things, and because they've come true in the past, people are trying to get government to create public policy around her predictions.
Yeah.
Right? So in North America, these would probably be dismissed outright. But in Japan and dare I say Asia, that connection between people and nature, right? It's not as far a stretch as we might consider in the West.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's not a stretch for Japanese folks, Chinese folks, right, that have that language and particularly Japanese culture, a connection to nature, to think that this is beyond the realm of possibility. So I think it's pretty cool. Now, what do you think is going to happen?
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if it will hit in 2025. But I do want to go into a little bit of the interesting symbolism that she saw in this 2025 prediction dream is that she saw two dragons turning the sea
Okay.
and leading the tsunami that submerged more than 1/3 of Japan.
So that's pretty scary, because if that actually happens, millions of people are dead. Not tens of thousands, millions.
Yes. 1/3 of Japan.
And the global economy would likely grind to a halt.
Yeah. But let's not focus on the 1/3 because that's something that you can't
Could be
control.
symbolic.
It could be symbolic. So I want to talk about the symbolism of dragons. So what do you happen to like do you know the symbolisms of dragons in the Japanese culture?
Yes, but go ahead and explain. But also, if you take a map of Japan, north to south, and you put it on its side, you'll see that it actually looks like a dragon.
No way.
Yeah, looks like a dragon.
Okay,
Go
I
ahead.
want to look. Sorry,
Yeah.
this is recording, but I want to
So because that is part of it, all right. So see,
I'm listening.
you got your phone there, and if you turn it sideways, now turn it sideways.
This way?
Yeah.
It does not look like a dragon.
Yes, they will. Japanese people say that there's the head, and it comes down with. See?
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, you're pushing it, but I can see
No,
it.
I mean that's right. Well, yeah, imagery and symbolism is always pushing it.
It's giving like seahorse.
Seahorse vibes?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Japanese people say it looks like a dragon. Okay, so tell us a little bit of the symbolism behind dragons in Japanese culture.
So the symbolism behind dragons in Japanese culture, it symbolizes nature. Some people say it symbolizes the yin and yang as well. Specifically with these two dragons, they're saying that it symbolizes the yin and yang of humans and Mother Earth,
Nature.
or
Right and left.
Sure, just the yin and yang of
Okay.
like
Balance.
the balance, yeah,
okay.
good, the balance of good and bad. And this one's very interesting because she says there are two dragons in her dream going towards Japan.
Two dragons.
Two dragons.
Okay.
And because they symbolize the balance, yes, this natural disaster will hurt Japan and other parts of Asia very
Badly, she
very
says.
badly.
Yep.
But then in her prediction, she also says that she saw hope, and that the world was very bright even after that. That whole catastrophe in her dream.
How was hope symbolized?
She didn't talk
She didn't
about
go
it,
into
so
that?
that's where people are guessing. Are those two dragons, one symbolizing the big disaster, but then the other one is symbolizing the hope after that she has predicted?
Interesting.
So I guess we'll never know until this day comes.
If it happens, yeah.
And it will, because we're waiting for that plate to move. But they're just Yeah, but like that dragon symbolism is very big in the Asian Japanese culture, because a lot of people are trying to find meaning behind what she said with those two dragons. I I I I don't know if those dragons just means that two plates are gonna move at once and then come towards Japan.
Could
If
it be like an attack from China? You know, maybe it's not natural. Maybe one of the dragons is China attacking Taiwan, right, and Japan and the Philippines. Maybe there's something like that. Who knows? I'm just saying.
mm,
Uh, well, if they're going to attack, they would have to be preparing now. So I don't think that would happen. But anyway, there's a lot of different ways that dreams and symbolism in dreams can manifest, right?
yeah. So
So that's interesting. So, question: what if on July 5th nothing happens? Then what? Do we just wait? Oh yeah, she was right, but the date's off? Like how do we reconcile people that make predictions that are right, but then they make predictions that are wrong? Do we just give them the benefit of the doubt?
I don't know. Maybe you just shrug it off and be like, oh, nope, that was wrong. I don't know.
Well, then I'm not going to listen to anything she ever says again.
I don't know. But there's more than just one one psychic or however you call these people predicting July of 2025 to be a big
I've heard.
day.
So,
So maybe it's not July 5th, maybe it's July 6th. Who knows? But
so if you go to Japan, there are millions of people
yeah.
prepping
Yes.
the way Japanese people have to prep. So when you prep in North America, you got guns and food and land and you're storing food and food, right? A year worth of food and 10 million rounds of ammo and all this stuff, right? Well, you can't do that in Japan.
Mm-mm.
You're lucky if you can store 20 liters of water, literally, right? Because your apartment's not, you just got nowhere to store it, right?
Plus, if your apartment's underwater with a tsunami, then
With that, okay, that, and then if you're right, and then a city of 30 million people like Tokyo, if you don't have plumbing or garbage collection or people able to move rotting food or dead people, right, you have a real problem. So,
how did they deal with that in 2011? Do you remember how they dealt with that?
well,
Or maybe,
well, the sea receded enough.
yeah.
So, number one, the ocean carried a lot of people
Yes, it
out,
did. Yes. Yeah.
people they never found, thousands.
Yeah.
What they did leave behind, what was left behind, the authorities got had to find the people.
Yeah.
So it's not fun.
No, it's not.
Fukushima is one situation because the towns weren't that big. Lots of people died. The towns weren't real densely populated.
It's not Tokyo.
You hit Tokyo. That's a completely different story. Osaka, Tokyo, Nagoya, all those places like
Oh, I
that.
have goosebumps.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. So anyway, if you go to Japan now, millions of people, like if you go to Amazon Japan, millions of people are buying tens of thousands of batteries and solar powered this and water that and freeze dried food this, right? And so that when this comes, they can all be prepared. Well, your grandmother and grandfather are like, yeah, whatever. So it's like they're like, if it happens, it happens. But young people are especially nervous. So number one, they're spending millions of yen on getting ready how they think they should, and then
Not just getting ready, but inventing new things.
inventing new things, inventing ways to be prepared, right?
Yes.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But they're also pressuring the Japanese government to be prepared for July 5th. And the Japanese government, of course, they don't move on predictions of people that write manga. But I find that interesting that there is enough weight behind her predictions that people are trying to force the government to move public policy, which I find pretty cool.
Yeah. It's a very Asian culture thing, I think.
Yeah. Well,
To
part of it, Japan also jump on the bandwagon. Let's face it, there's a lot of bandwagon crap in Japan, right? The apple diet, the tomato diet, the this diet,
the
that
banana
diet,
diet.
all just just every day there's a new wagon departing the station and that people jump on, and it's pretty crazy.
But this one, even if it doesn't happen on July 5th, it is still coming. Just like that. Just like It's a ticking bomb.
Well, she
We're
said it's
waiting.
going to affect Japan, Korea,
Japan, Hong Kong,
Japan,
Taiwan,
Taiwan,
Philippines.
Philippines.
Yeah,
Right. So that's going to be a
it's gonna be humongous.
massive. Right. And so when Japan had the tsunami in 2011, there was small tsunamis on Alaska on the west coast.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
There was. The heck was that?
His nose is whistling. It was bugging me.
So there was. I don't know if people know this, but tsunamis in water, the waves can travel at the speed of sound in water. Did you know that?
Wait, what?
Google it.
No, I don't get it.
So, so, so people think, oh, tsunamis travel really slow, right? The shock waves travel really slow, right? So you have an earthquake, and it's the shock waves and the movement that make the water
Gather,
gather, and then right.
and then yeah.
But the waves. But what people don't know is that the waves of a tsunami, the pressure and stuff, can travel almost at the speed of sound.
That's how fast they are?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah,
But they don't look fast. But I guess they are fast. Are they fast? Ugh. I just saw a recent video of the 2011 of people running away, and I started to cry because it's very like it's so scary of people. Like you can tell that the person who's taking a video of this wants to go and help people, but they also
can't.
don't want
You'll
to
die.
risk your life. Yeah, so
you'll
you're
die.
just literally watching people get washed away. And I don't know why that's on the internet, but I started crying and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's going to happen within this year or the next few years in Japan again, and it's going to be bigger. It's going to affect way more people and more countries."
Listen to this. Listen to
Ugh.
this. So I wasn't full of crap. Wave speed and water depth. Tsunami speed depends on ocean depth, calculated by, and there's a formula. Okay. In the Pacific Ocean's average 4,000-meter depth, this gives speeds of 700 kilometers an hour. That's how fast the waves travel.
Holy
Okay.
crap.
Deep water deep water at 4,000 meters. Deep water maintains high speeds of between 500 and 800 kilometers per hour. That's how fast the waves travel. People don't know that. When you get to a 300-foot depth, okay, 300 foot,
That's shallower, yeah.
well, 300 feet is still deep, all right?
Yeah, but that's
it's
shallower than
compared to
shallow.
4,000,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now your waves are only traveling between 60 and 80 miles per hour.
Okay, so you changed from kilometers to miles. I don't know what the difference is.
100 kilometers an hour, 100 to 130
Okay, so
kilometers
it
an hour.
drops. It drops.
The speed drops.
Yeah.
But nobody, you ask 100 people, how fast do waves travel at 300 feet of water? Everybody would say, oh, I don't know, 5 kilometers. No, it's not 5 kilometers an hour. It's not 10, it's 100, up to 120 kilometers an hour.
That's the QE2 highway.
Yeah, that's how fast it is, right?
Wow.
And so, um, and and the waves don't necessarily slow down unless they hit something. So if you have a big tsunami and there's a straight line, allowing for curvature of the earth, and there's a straight line from Fukushima over to Vancouver, where and the earthquake happened at the 4,000-meter level. The waves that travel to Japan is obviously closer, and the speed with which they travel to Vancouver will be 800, 700 miles per hour.
Kilometers.
Now, miles.
We said kilometers
Damn
earlier.
it! Did I? Oh yeah, sorry, kilometers. Right. So now the waves on the Vancouver side might not be as big because it gets shallower. There's a whole bunch of other stuff in there, but they're traveling that fast. Isn't that
Wow.
crazy?
Did you know that? I didn't know that. They look so slow, but
Oh, energy does spread over 100. Like energy does go down. The energy goes down, but the speed doesn't necessarily.
interesting.
Anyway, there's a bunch of stuff in there that I only pretend to understand. But yeah, so if you have a massive earthquake somewhere where the ocean waves can send that energy out to Japan and then Taiwan and then Philippines, I can see where that would be if something's big enough to cover a third of Japan, it's going to do major damage to Taiwan, major damage to the Philippines, which are Philippines is even less prepared, right?
So scary.
I hope it
That's
doesn't
scary.
happen. That would be millions of people dead.
A third, that's scary. And then she also predicts that she's gonna die when that tsunami hits. So in her dream, she saw
Her
her
own
own
death?
funeral, her own
Oh,
death.
that's creepy.
Yeah, so she saw her own funeral. So that's really
So,
creepy. That's very, very creepy. Um,
so what do you think? Are you going to go to Japan in July?
no, I don't have the money for it. But if you're listening and you're planning to go to Japan, yeah, it may or may not hit on July 5th. It may hit July 1st. Who knows? It may hit tomorrow. But as a foreigner who is visiting a country that you know that this big event may or may not happen, I think you should also go with the mindset of like study study what you should do when there's an earthquake, study what you should do when there's a tsunami, what are the emergency what is it, like gathering places
Yeah.
where you should run to if you are
Yep.
in Tokyo, because this is people in Japan are already doing their own research and they already know where to evacuate to, but you as a foreigner should also be doing that because this is literally life or death
Let me
situation.
read a little bit more about this prediction because it's really cool and so specific.
Sure, sure, sure.
Okay. Tatsuki predicts a catastrophic tsunami, possibly triggered by an underwater volcanic eruption south of Japan. Well, that's what they have there, right? She describes the sea boiling, just like you said, with giant bubbles and warns the tsunami could be 3 times larger than the 2011 disaster that struck Japan. The impact zones include Japan, Taiwan, Indonesia, the Philippines, and the Northern Mariana Islands.
Mm.
Okay? Her vision includes dramatic land shifts. She foresees the ocean floor between Japan and the Philippines rising, potentially connecting regions like Hong Kong, Taiwan, and the Philippines by land. That is such an insane shift to the land that millions of people would die. Millions, right? She saw, then she goes into the deeper into there. It says she saw the two dragon-like shapes heading towards the epicenter, later identifying similar shapes on an underwater map near Hawaii. So, and there's more detail here that I won't go into because it takes you to some links and stuff. But, um, you know, now having said all that, her predictions have gained attention because she has had success,
Yes,
meaning they have come true.
yes.
They are not supported by scientific evidence, and experts remain skeptical about her 2025 tsunami forecast. So it's April, May, June. I guess we have 3 months to wait and see what happens.
Oh, I don't want to wait. I
Well,
just want it to be over. No, I don't even want it to come.
yeah, I mean, it's pretty gross stuff, right?
That's devastating. And
Yeah,
I
it's no
have
fun.
we actually you
Because
have
I was in the
I have
Kobe
family
earthquake.
there. Oh yeah, tell us.
So I was in the Kobe earthquake. So it happened in Kobe. I was in a town called Tokushima, which is on Shikoku, which is 40 kilometers from Kobe. So the damage there wasn't as big. Stuff did topple over, and I only think a couple of old people died. I can't remember. But it was early in the morning, and I was on the 6th floor of an apartment building. And in front of us, we had a road, but in Japan, there's big trucks like for construction going. And I thought that a couple of big like dump trucks were traveling on the road because you could hear it coming.
Mm.
Okay, you can hear it coming, and it was a rumble like just like that, right? So and then it gets louder, and then it's right there, and then the whole building, it didn't go up and down, it went back and forth like like from left to right, boom, 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 left to right, boom. And so me and my buddy that I lived with, our stuff was thrown all, there's stuff everywhere, right? And we were literally thrown across the room, right?
That's
It lasted
scary.
for quite a while. I was like, and but the thing that sticks in my mind was during when it was happening and you're getting thrown around the room. It's one thing, and you had to clean up all the crap. But what really struck me was the sound it made. You could hear the earth rumble as the waves of the earthquake came across the land and finally hit you. And then it was like boom. It was crazy. It didn't scare me at the time because I'm a stupid Canadian. I don't know what earthquakes are.
You're not
And
stupid. You're just
and
inexperienced.
it still doesn't scare me because I lived through it. But thinking back, that memory is burned into my head, that deep rumbling sound, and then the entire earth just shaking. It
It's
was
a core
crazy.
memory.
Yeah, it was a core memory. I don't revisit that memory very often, not because it's scary, but just because I don't. I mean, I've been in earthquakes since, but that was pretty crazy. That was intense.
Yeah, I've never
Then the
experienced it
aftershocks
intense.
were pretty. Small aftershocks, small aftershock of 4, a 5, right, for the next 2 weeks, right? So everything's always moving.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy stuff.
Dang.
Yeah. I think another reason Japanese people are getting worried is because on the beaches of Japan and the Philippines, they're finding these deep sea creatures that only. Have you read about that?
I've heard they come up when there's
Yeah, they
a,
come up when there's an expected, you know,
natural
seismic event.
disaster. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so they're getting these animals, these sea creatures up on the beaches that live at like the 4,000 meter level,
Yes.
and they're finding them on the beaches.
Yes.
And people are saying,
That's a
if you
sign.
Google it, you'll see it, right?
Yeah.
In YouTube and stuff, and you'll see it where these odd creatures from 3 or 4,000 depth level are being found on the ocean, on the beaches
Yeah.
of Japan, Philippines, um, Indonesia.
That's a sign.
Yeah, well, and all the locals are like, "Oh crap,"
Yeah, that's it. That is an old crap.
right?
Oh,
So we'll see.
that
Like I
part
say,
is
we
very
got 2 or
scary.
3 months. We'll see what happens. But predictions, I mean, in the West, we take those predictions with a grain of salt. In in the in Asian culture, they're given a lot more weight for
Yes.
whatever reason, culture,
Yeah.
nature, right?
Well, I don't know
So,
about the other Asian culture, but Japan, we only know Japan specifically, but
but China's the same. China's very
yeah.
similar. Yeah.
Yeah. I just hope everybody, I don't know, not everybody will be safe, unfortunately, because that's what the prediction is 1/3.
Well, it says 1/3 bigger. I'm not sure if that means land mass or people dying or people injured or dollar amount. She explicitly just says 3 times bigger. So, you know, 3 times bigger would be in Japan, 30,000 people died, I think, in 2011. So you're looking at around 100,000 people would die, which is a lot of people. I hope that
Yeah.
doesn't happen.
That's a lot of people. Yeah. And just knowing that we have family there, it's even scarier. Like Mutsu, your grandparents they live in Aomori, so
Way
which was
north.
affected. It was affected by the 2011 tsunami, but your house wasn't specifically. In the map, does it affect your home too in the upcoming
No,
tsunami?
yeah, who knows, right? You don't know.
Because I know the Kure one, they're predicting. So if you look online,
Oh, yeah, you can find the
the
flood maps. You can
yes,
find tsunami maps of all Japan.
yeah. So the government released, they calculated with this, they calculated and now created a flood map of like how high the tsunami will be and where in your city or location where the tsunami will come. So where in Hiroshima, where my grandparents live, usually there's no tsunami that hits there because there's islands around Hiroshima, but the tsunami is predicted to be about 2 meters high where they live,
Hmm.
which
So,
is
yeah,
high for Hiroshima because Hiroshima doesn't
doesn't
get
get them. We have
tsunami
the
at all.
Seito Naika, right? The Seito Inland Ocean that would, in theory, protect.
Yes, yes, we have the islands that protect the
But here's the thing.
Hiroshima. Yeah,
The reason, in 2011, a lot of people didn't know what to do or where to go,
yeah,
right? And so they didn't really go anywhere. If they were close enough, they went up to the went up to the mountains,
yeah.
or they went to the top of the schools and hoped the flood didn't reach the. So the reason the Japanese government put out that flood map, that tsunami flood map, is so that because you have warning,
Yes.
Tsunamis travel fast, but you do have warning, earthquakes, tsunamis. Now you don't have to guess, right, where you need to go,
Yes.
right? So if it's going to be if I'm being on the safe side, I would just add 50%. So if I'm in the 2 meter flood zone, I'm going to past the 3 meter flood zone just to add 50%,
Mm.
right? And then if you have 10, 15, 20 minutes to get to higher ground, now you know exactly where you need to go. So you should be mapping it out.
Yeah.
Can you walk there? Do you have to drive there? If you have to
I don't even
drive
think you
there,
can drive there.
what the hell are you going to do when everybody's driving there?
I think you'll just have to look at buildings and find the tallest building and just hope they can make it up there.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
have a go bag. Japan is literally a place where you'd need a go bag.
Yeah.
Right? Here where we live, we don't necessarily need them.
Yeah.
Unless it's SHTF time, right? Societal collapse, shit hit the
Oh.
fan time. But even then, you don't want to leave your house. But the natural disasters we have where we live, it's what, cold? It gets really cold.
It gets really cold.
You get a go bag. What are you gonna do, right?
We need
Might as well
fire.
just start pulling drywall and wood off your house and having a fire in the kitchen,
Yeah.
right? But that's pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, it is.
But other parts of the world, like Vancouver Island, some parts of Eastern Canada, definitely parts of the U.S. like Florida, California, where they get floods and hurricanes, Texas.
Yeah.
If you don't have a go bag and you're unprepared, I don't think you're very smart.
If you live in those places that
You
you
have to
know
be
are high
prepared.
risk, you should be
You
thinking
have to be
about the
prepared.
future just in case.
And a go bag should include a go bag for each. You don't have to prepare a lot because you're going to suffer. So you're not taking a week's worth of clothes. You're taking 2 days worth of clothes, 3 days worth of clothes.
Yeah.
You're taking freeze-dried meals. You're taking energy bars, right? And into a decent-sized backpack. Maybe you're taking some form of protection, right? In the States where you can do that kind of thing. And yeah, so you have to have that kind of stuff ready. If you don't, I think it's smart.
Yeah.
But I know that our family in Japan is doing some of that preparation now. They're a little off their rocker, but
Yeah.
in terms of what they're doing. But
I just wanted to talk about two inventions that the Japanese have come up with that are really cool
okay,
to put in the go bags. One of them is paper.
Yeah.
But made with like stone, made out of stone.
Okay.
And so it's like origami paper. And
like, does it move like paper?
Yeah, it moves like paper, but it's waterproof.
Yep.
And if you know origami, you can make bowls out of it. You can make a spoon out of it.
I saw that.
So then you can make a plate out of it.
So this stuff doesn't get soggy. You can literally make a cup and a bowl out of your paper and reuse it all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's origami. So you have to know origami for that. But I thought that was really cool. Another one that I saw was imagine like a really thin Ziploc bag.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like no Ziploc, okay? But just imagine a Ziploc bag without the Ziploc, and then there's a chemical reaction of when you put in water, it automatically heats and boils the water. So if you have a baby and you need a baby bottle of formula, you just put in the bottle, and it will
into this bag, add the water, and it boils.
Yes, chemical reaction. So they're coming up with really neat stuff.
Trust the Japanese to
prepare for this.
Prepare that stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff. So if you're interested, like if you're going to Japan,
Hatsume no haha. Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes. And so if you are planning to go to Japan, and hopefully you don't experience this, but you live in a place where you need a go bag, maybe you can buy some of these things and bring it back home with you because it might come in handy.
I don't know if they'd let boiling chemical onto the airplane, but anyway.
I don't know about that. It's literally just, it looks like paper though.
No, I get it. I'm just saying, it'll probably be over here. If it's not being sold already, you can probably find it somewhere. It's but
I thought those were cool. And then I just also wanted to just bring up a few more of her predictions, her future predictions.
Okay, go.
Are you interested?
Yep.
So a few more of her future predictions, and then maybe we can just end it there. But future predictions. So dream date, August 20, 1991. A major eruption of Mount Fuji.
Okay.
Predicted dates is August 20th, 2021, or every 15 years thereafter until 2141. As of
But it
now,
hasn't erupted.
this event has not occurred.
Okay. So she is wrong.
She was wrong on that one. Another one is dream date summer of 1981. A megathrust earthquake along the Nankai Trough.
Mm-hmm.
Where could you tell them where that is? Where's the Nankai Trough?
Well, I think the Nankai Trough is on the east side of Japan.
Okay.
I think it's where the plates kind of connect.
Okay. Then, so she predicted an earthquake between June and September of 2026. So next year.
Ooh, so 2 big earthquakes in a row.
Yes, is her prediction.
Okay, gotcha.
Last big one, and then maybe we can end it here, is the one we just talked about, the massive 2025 tsunami. So we will see where that goes. So building submerged and bridge sunk into the sea. So it'll be a very devastating natural disaster, is
Her
what she is
prediction.
saying.
I hope she's wrong.
I hope she's wrong too. But I was listening to other podcasters and YouTubers and those like geological professional people that this plate, I don't know what the plate is called, so forgive me, but this plate is just, we are waiting for this plate to snap back because that's how much tension there is right now. So even if it doesn't happen this year, we're waiting for it to happen. So it'll be very
Just
devastating.
before we
anyway.
end, when the 2011 one happened, scientists say that Japan moved anywhere between 80 and 120 centimeters toward China.
Yes.
The entire island moved a meter, right, towards. That's insane. So if these plates are stuck on each other, right, and one of them moves, I think, because I remember reading this, I think they said it could move anywhere between 3 and 12 meters, the entire plate.
With this big one that we're waiting for?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
So, but again, this is all conjecture. Some of this is YouTube. Some of this is science. I don't know that they really know. And some places might move more than others.
Yeah.
But if you have a massive movement like that, it would, I can see where it would make the 2011 tsunami and earthquake look like kindergarten class. No disrespect to anything or anyone, but yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I don't
So I
know
hope
if
it doesn't happen. But
kindergarten.
on that beautiful, wonderful, happy note,
there's hope. She predicted there's
she
hope.
predicted hope.
Hope.
So let's see.
I think everybody needs hope in their lives, even now with, I don't know what's happening in this world today.
All right. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.